Forget it.
The FLAMECAST!
Hello, friends, listeners,
Oh,
countrymen, sort of. Half of you, maybe. Welcome
how you doing,
to
Tobor?
another exciting edition of the FLAMECAST with my friend WINDYBEARDGAMES and myself, Tobor. Windy, how's it going, man?
yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Bloody hot. It's about 1,000 degrees here in the UK right now, with temperatures increasing to the 2,000 and 3,000s over the weekend, I imagine.
Fuck.
How are you? I can see you are surrounded by what look like cardboard cubes.
That's
What's going
normal.
on?
Just, doing a bit of redecorating, that's all. Trying something
man.
new to stimulate the creative juices, get them flowing.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but no, not too bad. Just busy. You know how it is. Busy. Working. That's how it goes.
Always comes in threes.
It does, always. It's the only way. How about yourself? What about you? What's cracking in Tobor's world?
It's obnoxiously hot over here as well.
Really?
Hot, and the allergies are driving me fucking crazy. There's always some new and interesting symptom that I discover about living out here in Texas. And I like everything about it except for the heat and the allergies. And people told me that the allergies were like the worst ever and don't do it because I've just suffer. I'm allergic to everything except like food, every plant thing ever, and dust and all that shit. So people are like, I don't think you're gonna have a good time. And I was like, what? How bad could it be? I'm already allergic to stuff out here too. Like, and then I moved out here, and it's like, oh yeah, it is different.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm allergic to everything, man. I had to go last week. I think I had to actually go to the doctors to get some better stuff because over-the-counter gear just no good.
Yeah,
just no good.
Yeah, waking up feeling sick all of the time is. It's not. I'm excited to get out of here. This is part of it. We're halfway there with this. We're moving into a smaller space at the end of the month to save money and to to make sure that Savage can continue is part of that. But that's going to be our pit stop for moving out of the state eventually into a place that's more like the Pacific Northwest, which has very little allergies.
Okay.
And is usually raining, so it kind of scrubs the air all the time. So,
right. Nice.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the current objective.
See, I made the clever choice as someone who suffers quite chronically with hay fever and other allergies of that ilk to move myself directly into the countryside, where I'm surrounded by endless sowing of seed and chopping of crop. So the air is thick with pollen at almost every single minute.
A peasant's dream.
Yes, it's great. I go outside, take a lungful of that fresh pollinated air and fall to the ground.
Dust the inside of your lungs a little bit.
But it's all right. It's all good. Right. How's Savage? Tell us what's going on What's going on with Savage?
This week has been kind of a wash for me, mostly just because of packing.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of packing and but other than that, it's been all right. It's been frustratingly slow. I have a really awesome week, and then I have a week that's like and then I'll have an awesome week again. But God, it's specifics. Let's talk about specifics. I guess if I have to. Hey, here's the Savage content update because I'm not doing it anywhere else. So, mostly dialogue stuff and UI shit still. Like I'm cleaning up all the stuff that needed to be cleaned up that I just haven't done yet with the crafting system to let you see what sort of ingredients you need and to have a list of things that you've already crafted and for that to also check to see if do I have the recipe or the ingredients for this recipe, and if I do, I can just click on the the icon for barbarian fart, and I can craft barbarian fart as long as I have whatever. I'm trying to do some quality of life stuff so that you're not just rummaging around in your backpack all the time and guessing and checking constantly, because that can get annoying for people. So there's that, and then there's the new conversation system, or the polished and roided up conversation system that's in the game right now. Yeah, it allows for things like skill checks, item trading that actually shows you, like, gives you a detailed sort of look at how much, like, if somebody asks you, like, hey, give me some rocks, like the guy in the, like the retarded guy in the mining prison.
I killed him.
Yeah, okay. So you didn't get to interface with this particular aspect of the game, or him.
He just got one. I just saw him.
So like he'll ask you for some ore, and if you have some, like there'll be a little window below that shows you, like, oh, you've got 2 pieces of ore. He's asking for 1, and it'll have a little slash in it. It's like 2 out of 1. It's like, and it'll show up as red if you don't have the required stuff. If you're currently mousing over the dialogue option to give him some, or so it's making it feel like a real true grown up video game.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah,
that sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good.
So that's the long and short of Savage currently.
Okay.
How about
conversation systems? Me, well, it's just a mountain of user interfaces and databases and stuff. I'm slowly chiseling away at it. It's strange because I've got like not a template, but I've got what I did for the first one. So I'm trying to make the first one but better in every way. Right, that's pretty much the idea. So I'm trying to whittle down the amount of clicks it takes to do jobs, the amount of time, you know what I mean? Like, everything just needs to be a bit smoother, a bit easier, and a bit quicker, right? So I've been working on the collection system. So everything you drill, everything you see, everything
streamlined.
Exactly that.
Oh, no!
Exactly. So I've got to. I'm doing that. So I've managed to do the collection system, or at least half of it, this week, and that was an absolute monster. Just trying to get it nice, and it is nice. I'm quite pleased with it, but that was hard work. But this morning, I struggled for several hours. I sat there in an ever-spiraling ponder, musing and considering, thoughting, just about what I'm going to do with
imaginationing.
Game. Exactly, imaginationing, just considerationings, for all these things that I've got to do.
Yeah. You say thoughting, and I imagine you bottling up your bathwater or something. Something
like that, yeah. £35 if anyone's interested. Yeah, you can grab it now. It's a bit mucky though. It's a bit murky. I wouldn't open it. Yeah, so I've been stuck with two major issues, right? So one is trying to gate off progression, how I'm going to control that, right? So I need to give the illusion that there is a universe to explore, but I need to control, in some respects, how it's explored, or else it's just chaos, right? Because what you don't want is, okay, so in G2A you had these random little segments of space given to you with random planets or comets in it, but they weren't random. They were based on certain criteria that you hit on the way through. But now I'm just having this one giant universe, so I need to figure out, I don't want the player to go that way and hit the biggest planet or the biggest star in the universe, because they'll just die instantly and no one's going to find that fun. And there needs to be some control. So yeah. I've got some plans for that.
In a game like Geo, yeah. Like usually I'd be like, oh no, let people fucking go make their own mistakes, but Geo's different.
Yeah, there needs to be some guidance. So the idea I've got is, you've got this giant universe with all these uncoverable squares, and underneath it's all the stuff, right? Same as the first one, but just a giant universe. But now the squares are going to be of different colors. So you've got ones with green question marks, same as Geo1. But there's going to be some with blue, some with red, some with yellow, and you have to unlock the permits. So you can do the green chunk until you get the red permit, and then you can go into the red areas. So I can sort of kind of gauge how the player's going to explore.
I like that you're adding more to your sequel.
Yeah, well, I'm adding new bits. Yeah, and this is
an alien concept anymore in video games.
Well, it's going to be the same, but better. But changing certain things causes problems that I need to rectify. But I want to rectify them in a fun way that makes the game even better than the original.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a difference between streamline and gutting systems and never using them again.
Yeah. So I'm not gutting much at all. There's a couple of things that will be missing because they didn't work that well. They weren't really important. They were just there. There's some new stuff going in. So the biggest one at the moment, the issue I'm struggling with is in GO1 the planets could level up, so you could upgrade the planets would upgrade over time, and then you could find them again. But obviously because it's one giant universe, you can't re-find the same planet. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, and I've got some ideas. Like I was toying around in my head about when you actually go to drill the planet or comet or whatever it is, instead of just going, here's the comet, go and drill it, it will have drill sites. So different sites on that comet that you can drill that have different attributes. So one, you start off with just like the basic drill site, and then you'll move on to like a denser one, or one that's like 3 times hotter, or all this other stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out the ramifications of that, because I can go, it's a great idea, chuck it in, and then 100 hours down the line it just crumbles and it doesn't work. So I need to make sure it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but that's my current situation.
Sounds good. And everything that I see is I mean, it might sound dumb, but I really like the multicolored question marks.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll look good. I think it'll look good, especially in the mini map. It'll look good because you'll see all these different swirling zones of different colors.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's satisfying. And then having to go get a permit, as as you put it, to unlock them. I like unlockables. Geo's like an unlockable dream.
It is. The game is like 90% unlockables. That's the point.
Yeah. Satisfied.
Everything can be leveled up. Everything.
Oh, so that's good.
That should be fun. So, but it's looking good. I'm quite pleased with it. It's just like with GO1, it was like, here's a concept. I'll chuck it in, and it took me 2 days because the UIs were just boxes, and it was all a little bit rough. But this one, I'm trying to really up my game on it. So if I want to do a UI, it takes me a day just to hand draw components of one interface, because it's all different like modules, and it's all connected by pipes and wires and all this stuff. So
yeah, and they're all animated and everything too. It looks cool.
Yeah, and everything sort of moves a little bit, and certain bits slide into place and stuff like that. So
that's one thing that I just haven't really done with Savage, is juicing the interface. Like there's not really any. There's like one random piece of it that, like, when you open it up, it like scales up. And that's it's like a little mini blacksmith window, and that's the only thing that fucking does it in the game. So I might take that out because it's like, he tried something there, but everything else, nope.
Well, I think games at the moment have gone juice crazy. It's like it's a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. Everything's so squidgy and stretchy, and text is always bobbling, and everything's always. And I don't personally like it. Everything shakes too much. It seems like you're trying to distract people from what your game is.
Yeah.
It seems like, I think, of course, little bits here and there is nice.
Yeah, a little. I think you can manage.
Subtle.
I think you can manage some satisfying user interface interaction with mostly sound.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
If you've got some satisfying, like, push the up button and your little cursor goes, moves up or down or whatever, and you have a nice little ting 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 or whatever, and then you click something, it's like
yeah. I think it's one of those things that the good book sort of says it's being overdone. I don't like it too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so too. And in action games in general, and I'm seeing a lot of this in 2D platforming action adventure games where especially if it's like a melee sort of thing, or shooters too. Like I think everybody went Vlambeer crazy.
Okay.
Lately, where everything has to have screen shake, everything has to have like a pause or something when you like hit somebody. It's that I don't know. That I'm like, can we just calm down for a second and let the game kind of breathe a little bit?
It's a preference thing, isn't it? It's a preference.
It is.
Thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying any of this is wrong, but
I think it's a subtlety is better, in my opinion. I think
when the valleys are a little bit more defined and regular, the peaks matter more.
Yeah, like when did items in inventories start fucking going. You know what I mean? When did that become a thing? Like,
Oh man,
you know, why is my apple getting bigger and smaller and turning and stuff? Like, I just
yeah,
want an apple
squashing and stretching and scaling.
Yeah, you know
and,
what I mean? It's too much for me. I get it makes me feel a bit queasy. You know?
Yeah,
It looks a bit
I almost feel like that was a web browser game / mobile thing.
like Flash thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that has started to turn, you know, to pervade, to infect normal
Yeah, a little
desktop
bit
games.
of that's all right. You know what I mean? So like, I'm having like little hydraulic things that go, you know, and just move a little bit when you open an interface.
Yeah, it looks
So, like,
it's so much. It's a lot more exciting than the UI from G2A, which was mostly
100%.
static, right?
Well, I think if you think about what Geo is, it's mostly interface and like it's mostly interfaces that you're playing with, right?
Yeah.
So they need to be good, or else.
Yes, or else it's bad.
Yeah, like it's an easy. Well, I say an easy place to add value, but it's it's somewhere you can add it. You know, instead of drawing 1,000 different stars in the background, are better off having higher quality interfaces. You know. So yeah, it's going all right. It's going all right. Just so much to do. But like I've said, I've probably said this on every other Flamecast. It's one of those projects where it will seem like I'm getting nowhere, and then all of a sudden there's 100 hours of content. You know, that's what will happen.
That's what it feels like with Savage. I feel like the car is stuck in the mud, and we're spend all afternoon trying to get it out. Like one person's like revving the engine, and there's a guy behind pushing it. Out of this like divot or something, and then all of a sudden it just like takes off.
Yeah, and then off it goes.
Yeah.
So that's me really. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to deal with like drill site leveling and stuff. But I think I'm gonna try out some new ideas on that.
Yeah, that'll be good, man. That'll.
And I have some other sneaky little ideas.
And when it's ready, you can sell it on G2A.
Oh yeah. What a segue. What a segue. Ladies and gentlemen, Tobor Prime there with a segue, because G2A is one of our points of discussion today, ladies and gentlemen. As you probably have heard, there's been some G2A-based controversy floating around the internet. You may have not noticed this, but it's quite big. So
people sure do talk about video game stuff a lot, don't they?
They do, especially when you search and look for for video game discussion.
Yeah, including us.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah.
So G2A have been getting a bit of grief from some indie developers. Basically, there's some high-profile-ish indie developers going out there saying that they prefer people to pirate their games than to buy it on G2A. Right? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this subject, Tobor?
I used to feel kind of the same way about it. I used to not even really know what they were and not really think too much about it. It was like, oh, it's just they have shit for cheaper, I guess. And I'd occasionally, they'd occasionally pop up on a search or something. And I'm talking like, years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, recently the whole indie community spearheaded by the usual suspects have come out denouncing G2A, and here's what I think about a lot of this is it's like a weird control thing with digital things and so you used to be able to like buy a cartridge, right, and then you could give it to your friend or whatever. You could sell it at a garage sale or something. And whoever made it, didn't see a dime from any of that stuff. Yeah. And I in some respects, I kind of look at G2A in a similar way.
Yep.
Where it's like, well, somebody wound up with a key somewhere and they didn't want it, so they sold it. Obviously because they didn't activate it anymore. So it's the analogy is a little shaky, I guess, there. Yeah. But as far as it being like a private, consumer thing where it's like, I have this thing and I'm just going to sell it used or whatever, like on eBay, for example. I don't like that it seems to be pretty easy for some of these online stores. So I'm struggling with the language for this.
Okay.
A little bit, because so much of it is abstract and weird.
Yeah.
You know, like digital storefront and used keys and anyway.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? It's an odd discussion. That's the thing. It's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's more interesting than anything else. I don't think that they should necessarily be shut down or anything.
Well, yeah, I agree. I've been kind of.
But I was getting to the credit card fraud thing. Where
Yes.
People can somebody somewhere in the world can take a. Let's use Texas. That's an example. You never hear.
Why not?
You never hear about somebody from Texas, committing credit card fraud. So we got to be inclusive.
You've got to be.
Yeah. Let's say some cowboy out on the range gets hold of somebody's credit card over there on the prairie, and uses their digits to buy fucking Forager, 400 copies of Forager.
Right.
And then before that person knows and can, file a complaint or dispute with their bank or whatever, that guy has sold all the keys to G2A.
Yes.
I don't like that it seems to be kind of easy to do that, but so many other things have that.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
So what?
I get
Do you
what
not
you're
allow
saying.
people to sell the keys that they don't want? Then I don't like any of this shit. Like, I don't like that keys exist in a digital, ethereal state, and that once you play with your key,
Oh my!
once you play with you can't then take that game and sell it as a used copy or something. And
Yeah.
so I think the inherent structure of the whole thing is annoying to me a little bit.
What, the whole digital market?
Yeah, it's kind of strange, and how, like, most of the time the return policies for stuff like that are non-existent. Like Sony's, famously difficult with this stuff, where if you buy a game and it's like kind of buggy, and it even on a functional level, if the game's kind of buggy and makes your PS4 sort of wacky, they're hard pressed to give you a refund.
Yeah, it's bad.
So it's all of the control is on the the other side, the virtually non-existent in the consumer's hands.
Yeah.
For this sort of stuff. But yeah, G2A's, I don't like the credit card fraud. I don't like the. So I don't know right now. Currently, I have no idea what could be done about it necessarily.
Well, this is it. So personally, my take on it is, right, that credit card shit, yeah, that's bad, right? That is awful, right?
Yeah.
If that does go on, and everyone says it does, but we're not seeing huge amounts of evidence coming from anyone who's claiming that it does, right? Because there's been a few high-profile cases. I think it was Activision or someone like that's had something like that. But you're not seeing queues and queues and queues of game developers, indie developers lining up saying, "Here's all the stolen cards that I got chargebacks on," right? No, I've not seen any evidence of that.
I haven't either. I just hear about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I hear about it from a game of telephone sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like one person says it, and then another person says a version of that to someone else, and then it just snowballs.
But I
It's
would go.
as far as I know, like, this only happened one time.
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is it. And I don't think let me just say, I don't really like G2A. From my business perspective, it doesn't do me any favors, right? There's no good that.
That's what I was kind of trying to get at. Was like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't like it. Yeah. But I also understand that if someone's bought a key off me, then that's their key to do with whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I start to get twisted a bit on what the actual mainstream narrative is G2A's bad, they're just another corporation crushing the little man, right? Which is what's going on, and everyone's rallying behind multi-millionaires who are screaming about how oppressed they are by $1 million company, right? Let's be honest, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And but I've not had no fucking issues with G2A. You can probably get my games on G2A, but just like every other indie developer who's been around a little while, they've had bundles, they've had special offers. You know what I mean? There's thousands of my keys have gone out in different bundles and things over the years, and different sales, 80% off here and there, because people buy games on sale and then they end up on G2A, and I can't really get upset about that. People bought the keys; they can do with them as they wish.
Yeah, there's Sweezy Gunner.
Yeah, it'll be on there, and I imagine you'll find some of my others on there. But I think it's a little outrageous to try and destroy another company, whether or not you agree with their business model, right? To try and destroy them in order to highlight your own products. I think that's a little distasteful, and I don't think it's a good look for the industry at all, the games industry. And you might not like G2A, but if you then go back a few years, remember when like Microsoft and stuff were trying to do away with the pre-order market by putting, always online stuff. Remember how much that kicked off?
Oh yeah.
Because well, this is essentially the same argument, and
everybody putting day one DLC codes in with the discs and stuff, and it's like if you got it used, well, that code is no good anymore, and
so it's no different to not allowing people to sell keys they don't want. It's the same argument.
That's kind of how I view it too. Is it's an attempt to remove the secondhand.
Yeah. And the way the argument's gone online is that G2A is selling 95% stolen keys, right? Which I don't believe for a minute. I don't believe it for a minute. If they were, they would have been shut down and the owners would probably be in prison. But
yeah, I have never thought that at all. I always assumed it was like a low percentage. But the thing is, you run into that. Yeah. No matter whether it's piracy or,
and that's another part of the argument as well. Like, turning around saying people, look, either pirate it from us or don't buy it from G2A. I'd prefer it if you pirate it, right? That's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, this is an industry of e-commerce, right? So you think that the people buying games off G2A, if G2A didn't exist or any grey market sellers, they'd come to you and buy it. No, they'd pirate it anyway. They don't give a damn. Like, this is the thing. There's this whole thing about indie games where it's like it's all one big dreamland where everyone's all super supportive, right? Which for 99.9% of the consumers that we make games for, they don't give a damn about me or any developer. They just want to buy a game and enjoy it. Like
or the interpersonal relationships of the indie devs. They don't want to know about that stuff. They just buy the products and they enjoy them, right? And that's perfectly fine by me. And some people go one step further and they want to enjoy products, but they want to enjoy them at the cheapest possible price they can find, right? Mm-hmm. Which is going to be somewhere like G2A. And if it's not G2A, it's another site. And they'll just keep following that train until they get it for free, so path of least resistance.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't think that they should be stripped off the internet. I don't think anyone has the right to say G2A shouldn't be able to sell indie games. I'd prefer it if they didn't sell my games,
Yeah, but I would prefer that everyone in the world give me money.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate preference.
I think the bad thing is it's sort of like you want your cake and eat it, right? So if you put your game in a bundle for $1, right, and 10,000 units go out, and 8,000 of those end up on G2A for for $1, and your game's $6.99 or $10.99, that's your own fault. You've already sold the keys. You can't get upset that you made some money, but you didn't make as much as you wanted.
I think that's where most of them are coming from, are from bundled purchases.
There's no doubt in my mind. But you also have the other side. There's people gaming the regions. So, for example, when you put a game up on one of these storefronts, one of the major ones like Steam, say, for example, you get all the different currencies for all the different countries around the world, right? So you'll say what currency you want to charge. So, pound sterling, X amount, dollars, this amount. And then they'll make recommendations based on the strength of other currencies. So, for example, Russia, games are far cheaper in Russia because their currency isn't as strong. So if you was to charge, for example, $9.99 in Russia, they wouldn't be able to afford it. No one would buy it. And there's some other things around the world where the prices are much cheaper, right? Mm-hmm. Or they put cheaper so people don't just pirate it. There's a chance someone will buy it because some of these countries, they'll just pirate it. So there's people buying different keys from different regions and bypassing and selling on G2A and, but the key's already purchased.
Yeah. No system is perfect. And
I would say almost every single key on G2A has been purchased. I would say, I reckon, if you just apply sensible mind to it and not just oppression, it's not fair. # follow me. # love indie devs. # here's my products. You know what I mean?
Yeah, frickin' Spotify has, somebody on there hacked our account a couple times. Like, it happens across all this shit. PS4 gets hacked. Like, people's information gets stolen. It's funny to see it concentrated on G2A right now.
Yeah,
it's not to say, I don't want to say like, if there are problems, don't talk about it.
Oh God, no.
Like, obviously, definitely. Like if there's an issue with G2A and like And I do think like stuff like bundles and like very, very low, prices for keys and all this shit. Ultimately, it like hurts the industry. I think. I don't think it's ever necessarily good.
No.
For it or anything.
But the problem is,
or a
those
place like
prices...
G2A, I don't think it's necessarily good for the smaller businesses.
No.
To have something like that around. And if there are actual issues with like credit card fraud or currency manipulation and flipping keys and stuff like that, like come up with a solution or a creative solution or something. Without destroying. I mean, these businesses are always going to be around. There's always going to be,
Yeah. Well, there's two sides to this, because I've also read some stuff about people have approached G2A and complained, and they've been ignored or they've been, fobbed off and stuff like this about issues, right? So that's bad. But
a lot of their PR has been terrible. Like there've been
recently. It's fucking terrible.
Hey, do you know what I'm going to say?
Go on.
With them soliciting like YouTubers and stuff with
that's the one. Yeah, I was about to say.
I want you, if you could do a video or a write up of and not mention that this deal took place, like painting G2A in a positive light and not saying that we gave you money to do so. And
but let's be honest, right? It's naive to think that doesn't go on all the time from so many places. It's just because.
You can guarantee fucking Disney's doing it with their movies.
Of course, they're all doing it. All these companies are doing it. If I had the money, I'd probably do it. Like if you got to stay in business, right? And they're trying to stay in business. It's a shit thing to do, right? It's dodgy as hell, right? But to sit there and think that some of the things that people promote on their YouTube channels, they genuinely believe in. You know what I mean? No, they're being paid to say some of this stuff. All right, and people need to, I think, grow up and or just be more genuine about what it is they're saying.
Yeah.
Because I think deep down, most people know that the keys that are being sold on G2A of their game are keys that have been purchased by themselves, putting it on special offer somewhere on deep discount, and then it's ended up on G2A, right? So you're annoyed. Like you said,
the keys. Somebody probably got some of these for like a nickel, 5 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
Or a few pence.
Exactly. Yeah.
A few Brexits.
I'd prefer to sell my games at full price. Of course I would, right? Of course I would.
Yeah.
But no one really is. No one. A few people are still selling their games at full price. Everyone else just sells games in discounts now because no one wants. Because you go on Steam, every 20 minutes there's a new major sale.
Discount is the new normal.
Yeah, that's it. So if any developers out there, if you're going to price your game, put your normal price as what you wouldn't charge, and your discount price as your real price, because that's the only way you're going to get business. Because I started some of my games I released before this sale chaos started, so I can't put my prices up. So it's like when I discount, when you're surrounded by everything's 80% off, you think, oh Christ, that's going to make me like 8 cents a game. The business is insane. Oh man,
that makes me time to pack it in and to get out of the business.
But that is the business, that is the business. That is the business now, and some people out there who can sell their game at full price, and I do sell copies at full price, but they're nowhere near the volume, nowhere near the volumes. I'll sell more copies in a sale on discount than I will at full price in a year. It's crazy because I don't think many people buy games on Steam if they're not on discount or on any storefront anymore, because they know there's another sale just around the corner.
Me personally, I generally do not.
What's that?
I generally buy things on sale. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, I've tried recently, maybe in the last 6 months to a year, to buy indie games at full price if I can.
It's certainly always on my mind, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But it's more of a principle thing than it's way more of a principled thing than a practical thing.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's like a small indie with like 10 reviews or something, I'll buy it at full price. But if it's one of these indies that's making £800,000 a day, then I'll get that on sale. They're all right. They're all right. But it's I think this whole G2A thing is also they're sort of being used as a fall guy for this pending, if not present, indie collapse. Right? I think they're being labelled as like one of the causes. Everyone's trying to find the demon in the business, that's causing all the problems, and it's not G2A. It's not. They're not the reason that business is bad. for everyone.
No, yeah,
across the
they're
board.
a symptom.
Yeah, it's just
They're
another part,
weird, to me, it's like a weird offshoot. They're in the corner somewhere. Like
they're a nothing for this industry. They're not that big a problem.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. In my opinion, yeah, they're small potatoes.
Yeah, no, they're not the issue that's being made out to be. Yeah, but anyway, that's G2A. Again, people, if you are watching, don't buy games from G2A. I agree with that, but don't fucking pirate them either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't
yeah.
pirate
Why
them
does it
either.
have to be one or the other?
What ridiculous. You know, if you can't afford our games, then don't buy them because you can't afford it. You know, you can't just have something because it exists.
Right.
That's not the way it works. Oh god, dearie me. Bit spicy, maybe. Maybe I'm coming across as some sort of capitalist pig. You know what I mean?
You swine.
Oh, well, sorry.
Gotta
when
gotta
someone
get the
pours tens of
proletariat
thousands
all
yeah.
hot under
Tens
the
of
collar.
thousands of hours of work and years and years and years of practice, you know, to turn around and say, oh, if you can't afford it, pirate it. No, don't pirate it. Piracy is awful. So is G2A. They all are.
Yeah, I think piracy is worse than G2A personally.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Yeah, 100 times.
If we
Makes you
have
a
to
thief.
line them up with
Yeah.
against each other. See, like I see G2A as, and it's obviously more complicated than this, but I see them as just like somebody with a garage sale.
Yeah.
Of a bunch of crap that, or eBay, and who knows if that bicycle was stolen previously, you know?
Yeah.
And I get the credit card fraud thing is scary and, you know,
Yep.
obviously bad, and but I wonder how much of that has actually happened.
Yeah.
And
well,
what,
no one,
and what
no
they've
one's
done about it to make sure it doesn't happen, I don't know. And
Yeah,
if
there's
they're not doing something to prevent that sort of thing, then shame on them. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they are dodgy as shit. Like that thing we're approaching YouTubers, they got caught out there. That's not a good look, right?
Oh, that's terrible.
bad.
Yeah.
They got that G2A shield thing, which is bad, which is you can basically pay insurance when you buy a game to make sure that it is actually legitimate. So you can pay like an extra £1, right? And if you buy a stolen key or the key gets revoked, you'll get your money back.
Really?
Or if the seller's dodgy and doesn't give you the key, you get your money back, right? So it's
Yeah.
Like,
It's
if
a
you had
really
some
bizarre.
respect-
Like they're like more of a middleman, aren't they? Like
yeah. But if you had, I suppose from a corporate level, if they had true, what's the word? Like if they believed that the product they were selling was good, they wouldn't be offering this dodgy insurance, would they? You know, they wouldn't be selling that to people as if to say, there's a chance you might want to buy this insurance, because they'd cover it themselves, wouldn't they? Like eBay and all these other marketplaces.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's so funny. That's so funny.
It is a bit dodge, isn't it? It's a bit,
That's a really good point.
yeah. But you know, it's another way of making money, isn't it? A company making money. Not a good company though, but company nonetheless. But that's
Yeah.
G2A.
Not a good company attempting to make money, kind of like Extra Credits with their brand new shiny video.
These segues. Jesus. You're
That
a
one wasn't
professional.
my best. I will say that.
No, I wouldn't say it was your best, but it was a solid
You probably should have went in on some insurance to make sure that the segue was good or your money back.
Yeah. But yeah, Extra Credits. Tobor, set it up. What's been going on there? What's happening?
Extra Credits doesn't like video games. Where? Well, yeah, I guess I can end it there.
Done. All right, moving on. What's next?
Yeah. Okay, we get check. No, so if you play a video game that has two sides to it, you know, some competitive or not too, like it doesn't have to be an online competitive thing, but if there's a video game, let's say it takes place in World War II and somebody has to play the good guys, you know, quote unquote, and the bad
winners and the
guys,
runners up. Yeah.
so Axis and Allies, if you got to play the, you know, Japanese or the Nazis or whatever, that is a gateway to more nefarious things that could happen in your life or that you could wind up doing. Playing as a Nazi in a video game it will normalize it in your brain. It will make it seem like Nazis aren't all that bad. You'll start to appreciate the design of the uniforms and their boots and their flashy little symbols. And the next time that you run into some Nazi propaganda online, you might not balk at it immediately.
No.
It might not make you sick to your stomach, and you might actually like look at it and sort of play with it mentally a little bit, and then before you know it, you're goose stepping around your neighborhood and hating people of certain backgrounds, and that's kind of where their video wound up, and they got totally and catastrophically hammered for it,
and rightly so.
I think so.
Rightly so.
I think so.
Whether
you're playing a game of like the American Civil War, and one side has to be the North and one side has to be the South. If you're the Confederates, then it's all of a sudden like you're fine with slavery. What
a ridiculous thing to say, though. Like, they can't surely believe that. Surely not. Like, it worries me that there's people walking around who believe that's the case. Does it not worry you?
We certainly have our heads so far up our fucking asses anymore that it's amazing. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
When I saw this, I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
And when you watch the video and you listen to their talking points and their reasoning, they are laying on the propaganda themselves so thick. And I thought it was parody.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff is like Onion article shit from, the late 90s or 2000s or whatever. Or it's Mad Magazine stuff. Like, this is nuts. Like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, you gotta be, what?
Well, it's the exact same thing, isn't it? It's that same bullshit argument that people who don't have a bloody clue what they're talking about, but proclaim to be experts in it, have been batting around for 30 years. You know what I mean?
This is coming from a YouTube channel that has put out analytical stuff on video games for years. And I've watched some of their stuff. I haven't paid attention to them in a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, extra credits. Wait a minute. Those guys are telling you that if you play
The thing is, like, anyone can make a mistake, right? Anyone can come up, formulate the wrong opinion, or
of course,
not so much the wrong opinion, or just a weird opinion. And then someone say, and they go, "Oh, actually, no, that's true, right?" And that happened to me the other day, but that's a different story. But that is so far of a fall from sensible to ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's also more dramatic because they're, like you said, they did actual analytic study of the industry, right? And they've been involved in it, and they're a part of it, even on the fringe of what being a YouTube channel, but they're still part of the industry. And to turn around and say something like that is just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It's incredible. I couldn't believe it. I'm still kind of in shock when talking about it now is like, it's
always
like the
Nazis, isn't it? It's always Nazis. Like
right now, that's the order of the day. Is
what is going on? Like they've gone and they're not coming back. People, don't worry, they're not coming back. Playing Call of Duty is not going to cause another Nazi attack.
Well, out here it's like white supremacists and neo-Nazis and shit. It's like they're more like fan clubs. They're the most. I mean, this is such a weird thing to talk about because it's like, who the fuck cares about these? A bunch of losers, and not many, hanging out, getting mad about stuff, and then that's the extent of it. Maybe on an online message board or something, or who knows? I don't know. But you want to talk about like Nazis? It's like somebody that fucking rolls up in a military transport, all-terrain military transport, and like a thing falls down and a bunch of jackbooted fucking MP40 wielding, they're just gonna gun you down. Like, that's Nazis.
I think some people need to actually have a good old study of what the Nazis were and did, right? I think maybe schools have stopped teaching it so much because it's falling into the past a bit more. So they're teaching slightly more modern history, right? Maybe they're not covering it like they used to.
Or just the like actually go through the war, I think this stuff is being, but it's like mostly like, black slave trade was bad and Nazis were bad, and it's like maybe they're teaching more the feelings aspect to it.
Okay. Yeah, they need to,
and not so much this was a war machine. Like, this was a crazy thing that swept across Europe, and and the West thought they were going to lose.
By the bloody skin of their teeth. You know what I mean? By the skin of our teeth, we managed to win that.
Yes,
and that's crazy. You know, it's crazy.
Through a lot of trickery and sort of Hail Mary tactics.
Yeah,
and certain things that shouldn't have gone right but did.
And they made some mistakes that caused their downfall. If they didn't make certain mistakes, we would have been screwed. But anyway, this isn't a history channel. But I do think it's a ridiculous thing to say. It's a ridiculous thing to say that doing X in a video game is going to make you accept it as a normal thing, right?
This is something that the games industry has been trying to fight correctly for years. 1992 was, there was like
the violent stuff.
Yeah, we had a couple senators over here like making a bunch of noise about how Mortal Kombat and Night Trap
had that over here, I think,
would make you a violent rapist. And then we had the Anita Sarkeesian stuff, and then now there's extra credits, and it's like,
why do people keep doing? I know why they do it, because there's a good chance that they're going to gather a following of devout crazies. Do you know what I mean? Who
100%, who are
perpetually offended by their own shadow, and those people are pretty avid followers of any company that will have them.
Well, and I get that people have ideas, right? I get that people have ideas, and maybe they trick themselves into thinking the ideas are bigger than they are, or.
And it's an interesting discussion as well, to be perfectly honest. Like, if anything, if their point was ridiculous and their stance was ridiculous, the conversation's interesting. That does turning the Nazis into an entertainment product that someone of a young, impressionable mind would play. Like, there's a discussion there, but I don't think saying that playing a Nazi in a game is going to make you look at a Nazi and go, "Oh, it's one of those fun, friendly Nazis from that game I played."
They're no big deal.
That's never going to be the case. But I think there's some interesting discussion there.
I think always being aware of what you're doing. Is fine. And like sometimes I'll look at what I'm doing in a video game and be like, this is fucking crazy. And I think that's kind of a good way to unpack it all is like, let's talk about it, but have it eventually lead to like understanding the difference between entertainment and reality, and fact and fiction, and this is a virtual thing. This is
Do you know, I think this argument might actually have some merit, right? Their argument would have some merit. If you got plugged into the video game for like 6 years and you went through training school as a Nazi, right, and you had to live the life of a Nazi in VR, and then if you got shot, you actually had force feedback and you felt it, and then you woke up after 2 years playing this video game, right? Then maybe there might be some discussion to be had about, is that healthy, right? But just saying, like, playing Call of Duty where it goes dead, next again, dead. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's no different to saying, "Oh, I see dragons all the time. Are there real dragons? I'm scared of dragons now."
Well, and I think too, like, their whole point too is like, when you are randomly placed on the Nazi side.
Yeah.
If you join a lobby shooter, right, and it's like the teams need to be equal. It's like, okay, some people are going to get, whether you chose it or not, like, you're going to get put like, with the Nazis.
It's not fair. That's they're playing on the whole, unfair, offended card, isn't it? Like,
where it's like, I didn't ask for this. I can't be a Nazi. This is insane.
Yeah,
but that assumes that you didn't know what you were getting into when you bought the thing and when you tried to play it. And there's a whole series of steps that argument I think kind of ignores.
It's like buying a coat and then getting upset that you're hot. You know what I mean? It's like buying a coat in the middle of the summer and then being offended that it makes you hot. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
Ordering the spicy food and getting upset that you're tearing up because of the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's that. It's exactly the same argument. But there you go. Ridiculous video, ridiculous argument by ridiculous people.
Yeah,
let's mark it up as that.
It's something that we can't seem to ever put to bed. Is the no. Well, I don't necessarily think that we should either. Like, we should always be kind of examining things.
Want to make the argument. Yeah, they're more than welcome to make it, but it's ridiculous. And I think anyone with any sensible mind would say it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Like, that's a platform that's quite a powerful platform to be spreading that, and they have obviously taken a spanking on their numbers and stuff because of this, and they're being ridiculed. But you know, you shouldn't. Once you've got a platform that big, you got a little bit of responsibility about what you say. You know, people need to have a little think, especially at that level, about what sort of messages they're pushing out. You know, I think, and that's a stupid message. Yeah.
Well, you get what you get.
Yeah.
I guess. Like, I mean, if that's you know, honestly what they think and sort of believe and where their line of thinking has led, then that's what it is, and people can decide to. Well, that's the thing too. That's the thing that irks me about some of this argument is it's like players can't explore something.
Yeah.
If any space should be safe to do to pretend to be a Nazi, it's video games. You know, like experiment with the bad guy a little, like see what happens if you're the bad guy. It's like in Skyrim or something, like people go on murdering sprees and shit, you know, just to do it, just to see where it winds up. You know, maybe a thought experiment or something. That doesn't mean that you have a. I think everybody probably has like a murderer lurking inside them somewhere where like a switch can just be, you know, or the it might take years, but a series of steps to get, because we're all human and we all have these psychological things and you know, the shadow self and like all that stuff. And, you know, maybe some people are more prone to it than not, but,
some people have a dark passenger.
Here I am on the internet calling everybody a murderer. What I'm saying is like in a video game, in a virtual space, we're all thieves and rapists and murderers. No, like giving people the freedom to kind of like goof around with a concept like that. Maybe you're not a prick, but in an RPG you can decide to say all the jerk stuff, choose all the the fuck you options, just to see where the story winds up, right? Yeah, like just to see what happens. And like when we were kids and we were playing War or whatever, like you probably can't do that anymore either. Like, you know, pretend to shoot each other with play guns and stuff. I used to like kind of being the bad guy so that the good guys had somebody to shoot at. You look a bit like the bad guy, you know, from like a war film. You know what I mean? You got that look about you.
Wipe them all out.
You know, someone who's seen too much.
And this is the ultimate plan. God. But it's, you know, it's like the stuntman thing. It's like maybe you want to be the bad guy up on the railing that the good guy shoots and he like falls down and has a cool death or something. I don't know. Like it's just a
fence. Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Where it's like, I get to be the bad guys in Warcraft. Like that's pretty cool. Yeah. Like I get to be the monster that the knight slays or something. That's like a quite a well-established sort of theme anyway. You know, the whole trying to do you get the audience to root for the bad guy? You know, like you find yourself in certain shows thinking this guy is actually a dick or this woman's a bad person, but I kind of want them to win, you know? They do this with shows, don't they? To sort of keep you on your toes, you know, because one minute they're awful and you hate them and the next minute they're like, actually, no, I kind of want them to come out of this the victor, even though they're the bad person. And it's entertainment, and it's the whole idea is to make you think and to change. It's not even that, it's just to enjoy it, you know, and play it and give the story some weight. Yeah, that's it. It's just giving it some substance, isn't it? Yeah. Like if like what was their suggestion that you go out and it's just the greens versus the greys, you know, and then at the end they all shake hands or they do the wave like with fake water guns or something. Yeah, that was one of the funniest parts of the video where it was like, maybe we can couch it all in a training exercise where there's the pink team and the green team and they all have, you know, water guns and they're like, yeah, we're gonna get you. Yeah. And it's like, let's keep them away from video games. That is such fucking like satanic panic stuff. Yeah, you know, where it's like, don't listen to devil music. Here, try, you know, this thing that still has some loud guitars in it, but they sing about nice things. It's like, way to fucking suck all the air out of the room. Yeah, yeah. Way to remove the edge, the thing that makes it interesting, or, you know, a little dangerous. That a channel of that sort of potency would formulate that opinion that, hey, wouldn't games be better if we stripped any actual intensity, any sort of imagination or stress situations or whatever? Just take it all away. Yeah, virtual stakes, you know? Yeah, just take it all away and just, you know, everyone can play it and not play it, whatever, because it doesn't matter, because it's just a video game that can be thrown away and no one cares. Yeah, that's why I think it was a little shocking to me. I was like,
It's terrible. Like if it was just from some rando or from some politician, you'd be like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. These people do know what they're talking about, or they should do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like, board games have been around for, decades where, Axis and Allies is like one of the classic ones. Yeah.
Like chess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, come on. like Axis and Allies is actually like, one side plays the Germans, one side plays the Americans, and they go at it, and and you sort of experiment with like what would happen to the map if the Germans like took over America or whatever.
Yeah. God damn. But
I think that's the problem, is they want everything to be chess, where it's just nondescript.
Just strip it all away.
It's just goofy.
That's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing, And the thing is, all these games aren't for kids anyway. They're not labelled as 3 years old. No 3-year-old is given a game where they play as a Nazi. And if they are, their parents have bought them a game that's not for them. The age restriction on it.
Oh man, you want to talk about age restrictions? There's all that the loot box shit coming. Up to bite everybody in the ass.
Yeah, God, I'm so tired of it.
With that kid who went on his dad's Switch or whatever and emptied their bank account into FIFA.
Yeah. Awful situation, but it's not EA's fault. Like, I get that there's many sides to that argument. There's many facets to that stone, Tobor.
Yes,
but I don't think. Again, it's just the big bad corporation. It's their fault, right? You know what I mean? Like, this poor family. And you think, well, the kid stole the parents' credit card, right? Okay, so they got the credit card details, which they shouldn't have done. So, that's why.
Or the dad didn't put any restrictions on.
Well, this is it again.
Switch,
just
right?
Parental neglect of the situation, isn't it? Not understanding the situation that you've created, right?
Yeah.
So there's no parental restrictions, even though those tools are given to you. Your kid's then stolen the credit card, right? So that's another mistake. Then third, they've then gone on the system, and over several weeks, or was it? They've done transaction after transaction after transaction, because the credit card was set up to an old email address that wasn't being used by the family anymore. So they had no real notification. So they'd neglected their finances on top of that. So they've got a kid that they've just stuffed in front of a console with no parental controls, playing a game that you can buy stuff in unchecked with a credit card details already inputted. And then when these charges came in, they're not being monitored. And then once they realised this has all happened, it's EA's fault that this happened. I think that's it's a bit
because
bit
they're looking specifically for targets like that.
Yeah.
With those parameters.
Yeah. It's just crazy. They're not like, there's always this argument, isn't there, that they're trying to abuse kids with these in-app purchases, right? They can only do that if the kids have got credit cards or payment. They're not, and if they're stealing, then you've got a wider issue.
I do understand the argument where, well, here's the thing too, is like FIFA, I think, is rated 3 and up or some ridiculous thing.
I think I know where you're going, and I agree with you. I agree.
I think we're fine with letting the games industry police itself. Like, I think the solution is information.
Yeah,
that's all.
I kind of agree with someone. I can't remember who it was banging on about it, but I think if a game has loot boxes in it or microtransactions, it shouldn't be available. It shouldn't have a kid's rating on it. Right. Like, it should be like 15 and up or something like that. You can't have a system in it that has that sort of stuff and market it to kids.
And I would be fine with it being clearly marked somewhere.
Yeah.
On the packaging, like, hey, this has microtransactions and.
But it won't make no difference, Tobor. That's the problem. Even if on the front of the case it had a big no smoking warning, right, which I've seen people batting around. Even if it had that, it would make no difference, and people would still be screaming about how EA is the big bad guy, right? EA are dodgy shit. And I've said it many times. I hate loot boxes, right? I hate microtransactions. I hate all this stuff.
I hate having to defend them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not. Exactly. I feel like it's like I'm in crazy town. That's what it feels like. I just see these people screaming, "It's not fair! It's not fair!" And you think it is. It's just you're not happy about it. That's the thing. It is fair. You want it unfair. Christ. But there are issues. I don't think a kid should be able to burn through 500 quid on a game on,
of course
loot
not.
boxes. That shouldn't be able to happen.
And they got refunded.
Yeah. But the problem is
now,
when I say
I understand not everyone's going to get refunded, but
yeah. But that's the thing. When I say they shouldn't be able to do that, technically they shouldn't be able to do it, because you should have parental controls attached to whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and that's why I say like the best you can do is just information. I think.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. Everyone's going to find a way to, there's going to be versions of G2A sneaking in there and finding loopholes and messing with the system or whatever. And obviously they and there's that video too that people have been talking about, the developer conference of the guy talking about how to psychologically manipulate people into getting, turning the game into a hobby and spending money. And it is weird to listen to that sort of thing, but it's no different from like a marketing seminar.
It's no different to any actual industry seminar. That's the thing. What
how
that is
people to buy your product.
Yeah. What that is they've just chiseled away the veneer of video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they've just, when you chisel away through a few layers of imagination, creativity, and passion, right behind it, you see this fetid, beating heart of e-commerce marketing and all these things, right?
Yeah.
And everyone and this is what really annoys me about it all, is because the companies that are doing really well are the ones employing these tactics, right? And everyone's screaming about how much they hate it, but they don't have to.
That turns everybody that interfaces with any of that stuff into a victim.
Yeah. It's just crazy, and I think like exactly what you said. It's just most developers don't employ those tactics or all of those tactics, but they exist and they've always existed.
I never want to.
No, and I never will.
I never want to. I don't like to. I tend to stay away from games that have that bent to them.
Yeah. But you'll probably find that you'll that if you was to go that way and use these tactics, that
I'd make fucking bank.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be in business for a long time, happy and smiling, right? Because this is what people are actually buying, regardless of how much they're screaming and shouting.
Yeah,
and that's the sad thing.
Ugh.
Sad thing, because but yeah, I remember seeing a lot of people screaming about that "Let's Go Whaling" video, and I did think, oh god, this is a bit much. But he even says at the beginning, "I'll leave the morality out of this. This is a business seminar."
Right.
There's grow up, people, isn't it? Just grow up. It's horrible. Of course, it's horrible, but not everyone's doing it.
Yeah,
but it's just there, isn't it?
And I don't like what the man on the stage is saying.
No, nor do I.
And I do think that there's certainly an argument for, there's psychological manipulation in there, and it's all over the place though. Like it's in advertising everywhere. It's to make you.
It's in everything, right?
Yeah.
I think probably a lot of what he's saying is probably used minus the monetization, but the actual manipulation of like turning things from like playing into a habit, into a hobby, and all these things. These are probably mechanics that are employed at game design at high levels anyway, regardless of the monetization and how you monetize that. These are just sort of, how do you get people to really enjoy your product and play it for a long time, right?
Yeah, and none of that stuff that he's saying does not exclude a quality product.
No,
either.
No, it doesn't.
Like an actual, genuinely entertaining thing to be on off. That's a separate discussion.
Yeah,
on how to make something feel good and play well and like all that stuff. It doesn't exclude any of that.
Yeah, but I think it's like any industry. You peel away that front layer, the shiny front layer, and behind it, that's what's going on. For the most part, in any successful industry that's making lots of money, that's what's going on. Discussions about how to make more money. That's
how to hook people.
Yeah, and most developers won't do that. Most developers will just make the best game they can and put it out to a small audience, right? Because most of the people buying these games,
spending so much time on shit like this, like you genuinely, you want your own work to be fulfilling.
Yeah.
So usually, especially for smaller teams and whatever, I think everyone's trying to make something that they want too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think any of this is good for games. Like, the whaling and the microtransaction and all that crap. I think it's bad for games. I think eventually you squeeze so much blood out of that, or try to squeeze so much blood out of that stone, people are just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And and it probably can lead to painting a picture in the consumer mind that games are just shitty and they all have this.
Well, you've got a double-edged sword, really, haven't you? Because you've got the mobile games market and this hyper monetization making the industry look shit. And then you've got sort of YouTube and industry critics and pundits making out that that's what everyone's doing, which is also making the industry
all that's
look
on offer.
which it isn't. This is the main problem, is the most amplified voices usually just point out the very worst things. None of them are talking about the interesting things that middle market games are doing, or that that you were doing, or And I get it, because even old Jim Sterling's popped out a few times and said, "Look, I don't do positive videos anymore because none of you watch them." So I get it. He's doing his business, This is the thing, right? This is the thing that makes me laugh.
We're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine all of these people who are screaming and shouting on their websites, and all these YouTubers screaming and shouting about this, let's go whaling. I bet they've been to how to get more viewers, how to increase your ad ratios, and how your revenue from ads and
search engine optimizations and.
Yeah, let's peel away that veneer, innit, and just show all industries have this. All industries have the steps to make the most money. It's just. Yeah. Again, it's a case of it's immature to think that doesn't exist. It's dreamland. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but it's there, and it's always good.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's silly to get so worked up over this stuff, and I don't think any of it's good for games ultimately. No. Especially games where it all comes back to this things in the ether that don't exist, and you don't have control over. You can't put on your shelf. You can't if the server ever goes down one day, you can't get that thing back again. Kind of like what's happening with Hearthstone, and them changing the graphics on things that you already paid for, and now that original item it's no longer there anymore. You don't have any control over it.
It's gone. Yeah. So very good again. Perfect segue. Right, we've also got on our list the current discussion that Blizzard has censored some of its art for the Chinese market, right? In Hearthstone.
Yeah.
That was one of our points, which was a glorious segue. So Blizzard have been accused of changing, I think it was 11 or 14 or 12 or something, cards for Hearthstone, removing things like violence or provocative lady stances or blood and things like that. So
that's the real tragedy.
Yeah. No more titties, and it's been no
more navel. Belly buttons are like taboo now.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that, Monsieur Tobor? What do you think?
It's Officer Buzzkill knocking on the door again. Like, hey, that's a little too spicy. We gotta. I think that's the annoying part. Is it's like. And I don't even necessarily care. Like if these were the original printings or whatever of the cards, I wouldn't really give a shit. But knowing that they've been altered is what really kind of grinds my gears a little bit.
Okay.
And I think the real question is like whether or not they did it to fall in line with China's regulations, right?
Okay.
And I guess they're saying that that's not the case, and
they're saying it's not the
clearly
case.
You removed some stuff.
Evidence suggests that it was, right?
Right.
They're saying it isn't, but evidence suggests that it was.
Whether or not it was for China, you still took a little the juice out.
Okay.
Like if you look at one of these, what is it? Kill Shot, or I can't remember the name. I don't play Hearthstone.
No, nor do I.
Because again, it's a microtransaction-y, like goofy thing, and you're buying cards that you don't actually own, and and all that, which annoys me. But there's one where like an arrow or a spear was going through a dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's like blood and stuff. Yeah. And it was and all the cards have great art too. Like none of them are necessarily bad looking.
Yeah.
But they changed that into one that there's just an arrow flying through. And it's like, why did you change it's such a weird.
Well, I think there's one example that sort of does pinpoint that the censorship for the Chinese market is the case, right? Because they're saying it isn't. It's to bring the cards up to their standards.
Up to their standards. What does that mean?
And but one of the cards is identical, just with like there's a dagger being sliced across someone's stomach, and then there's just a little splash of blood, and it's exactly the same image, just without the blood. Like that's not.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even see that. That's even. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a
They didn't even
redraw. It's
redraw
not
that one.
No, they just removed the blood, which is one of the big things in China, right? But I think I'm in two minds about this one personally, right? I see both sides of this story, right? One, I think as a British consumer, or yourself over there in the land of the free, I think it could be quite irritating. It could be quite irritating to think that shit's being sort of watered down. Our stuff's being watered down for other markets, right? That can be irritating. I can see that, right? Like, our stuff, it doesn't need to be done here, so why are we being censored? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, especially if this is your hobby and you're,
Yeah, I get that. But on the flip side, right, I don't think it should just be all outrage here because, Blizzard's a global company, right? And I know they've had some shit recently with their You've Got Phones and all that stuff, right? I know Blizzard, they've been a bit silly, right? But I get it. With this thing, I get it, right? China's a big fucking market, right? A massive, massive emerging market that's probably going to outstrip the America and Europe. It's probably going to go way above, right? So if you're not there, someone else will be, right? And they're a publicly traded company. That means they have to always have more and more and more profits. They're always trying to push. They have to, right? So they can't not do it. They're a business. They don't, they might be a business of creatives. And probably someone at the company went, oh, do we really have to fucking do this? And they went, yeah, sadly. And they went, all right, then. Still cool images, right? They're not, even with the blood removed, it's still a good card game. It's still
like I said, like if I were playing Hearthstone and these were the original images. Here's the thing that annoys me is like, this is a little hard to talk about because I have played Hearthstone, but I don't play it regularly and I've never purchased anything.
Okay.
From it's been probably a year or two or that I've even installed the damn thing. So I played a little bit of it and it was mostly single player stuff. But if the art was the way it was from the beginning, like sure. But let's say like somebody bought the dagger with the blood on the stomach or whatever. It's like that thing that you paid for is now different.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's always a problem. Yeah,
that's the thing that gets to me, and I get that too. I get that, like, obviously they want to go after, it's the choice of either. Well, we could make $1 billion or we could not.
Yeah.
But then here's the other thing too: is it's like World of Warcraft has different clients for.
Well, this is it.
Different regions, and in the Chinese one, they have they've edited out the bones and the skeletons and whatever else that that you can't show in a video game in China, while your client and mine have that stuff unaltered.
Yeah.
So it's like, why couldn't you just keep those cards for different regions and update
I agree.
these other
I agree. But see, that's the thing. I think I'm playing devil's advocate here, right? Yeah, I agree with you. But on the flip side, because they don't have to, they do what they want. I think that's the bottom line, isn't it? Like,
it's another compelling thing for a business where it's like we could waste money trying to keep up with 3, 4, 5 different versions of the game, or we could just have one and not worry about it and only ever update that one.
That if this is going to become like a normal thing where games for us are designed for the Chinese market, that'd be a shame. Having other countries' rules applied prior. I think that's a real shame if that's the case.
Well, then I also see that as a little bit of an opportunity for a place in the UK or a place in the United States, like Planet Tobor Studios, to offer things that you're not getting anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like I mean,
that's
just
the
like
ideal, the idealist in me, looking at it. But
well, you're banging out testosterone-fueled barbarian gorefest, right?
Which is funny because it's like that's not the reason I'm making the game.
No, it's just cool.
It's not because I like chicks in chainmail bikinis and men planting their axes into the faces of other men. Like It's because I like the atmosphere and the style and and those
That's
are
cool,
symptoms
man.
of that.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Look at this. Like, it's funny, isn't it? Like probably when you started making that game to this point, right? This whole sort of online cultural shift things going on, right? So when
Yeah,
you started,
so
it's
many
like,
things have
fucking
happened.
barbarians, fire, skulls, babes, axes, violence, and now you're like, oh Jesus, I'm going to upset people because I've got a barbarian with an axe.
Yeah, now I have to kind of explain myself sometimes.
You're sort of explaining yourself. Right? Oh, fuck it, man. Fire, do it. It's glorious. You know.
Do you have a license for that chainmail bikini?
Yeah, exactly. Christ. But
And it's not necessarily a bad thing to question what you're doing and to sort of examine what it is you're
yeah.
It's as long as I don't wind up at the same place that extra credits does, where I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna turn everybody into fucking chaotic neutral manslayers.
Yeah. Just grey beanbags, innit?
Yeah.
Sliding around without personality because you don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah. Fucking.
It's terrifying. It's a terrifying future for creativity, if you ask me. I don't know what the end game is for some people. I really don't.
A lot of the atmosphere out there is weird right now, and it makes you question things that you wouldn't have necessarily questioned before. Like, let's say I want to put a heroine in the game who's good at combat and whatever, and and I'm like, wait, am I doing that for inclusivity? Like, am I shoehorning in diversity and like, instead of just wanting that being your impulse?
Yeah,
I get that impulse to just put somebody like that in your game, or character like that, or whatever. Or on the flip side too, like, is my dude too masculine? Is he?
Yeah.
What are his opinions about different things? And and I don't necessarily think any of these characters should necessarily reflect my beliefs anyway.
No.
Whatever
you had
they
that
happen to be, like, they should be interesting characters by themselves, and the story should be able to evolve based on the decisions I made for their personalities. And
no, I get it.
instead of having to always like think about, like, wait a minute, is this too woke? Is this
yeah, exactly. I might be too aggressive with this. Is that is this joke okay? Like,
yeah.
that's another thing as well. Like,
Or is this character that's not me? Maybe he's prejudiced against something, and that maybe makes the world a little more interesting. And like, it's up to the player to hate that guy or to like that guy or whatever. But like, making that choice is like, oh, am I persisting some normative thing that's culturally endemic, and it's like,
Well, if you remember, it's like in MMOs, especially classic MMOs. You had the races, didn't you? They were like race wars inside the games, right? This is something that's sort of disappeared now. But you'd have I remember in EverQuest, the lizard dudes. The lizard dudes were hated by every single race in the game, absolutely detested.
Yeah.
You'd have just you've got Alliance and Horde now, I suppose, in WoW, but in EverQuest you had all these, and other MMOs, you had all these different races that hated specific races for certain reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and RPGs in general, like, it's always like elves versus dwarves, like they hate each other, and
it doesn't say anything about humanity. It's just an interesting mechanic inside that game that adds richness to what it's about.
Right. It's mirrors cultural conflict.
Yeah. But this is the problem now, is nowadays it would get a magnifying glass on it saying, oh, look at this, this refugee camp of tiger creatures. That's supposed to represent the ongoing conflicts in X, Y, and Z. And we should really think about that in the video game. And then the developer will say, no, it's not. And they'll say, you need to stand up for these rights and stuff. And you just think, well, it's a game.
Yeah.
Relax.
My game, I didn't intend to make a political game, though, but everything's politics, you developer.
So, yeah, you could have a game that's so painfully anti-capitalistic, right? That's something that's going on at the moment, actually. I can't remember the name of the game.
Outer Worlds.
But, that's the one.
Yeah.
And isn't it quite, the whole story is about like rampant capitalism and fighting against it.
It's capitalism gone like bananas.
Yeah. But even the developers come out and said, oh, it's not about politics. I actually like capitalism. Like, society's all right.
Which, if I can split hairs for a second, I think that's more corporatism than actual capitalism.
Right.
where it's like they start to define, law and like all that's and you can do that with anything. You can take like an ideal or a system and see what happens when everything is when balance is thrown out the window.
Yeah, when you take things to the extreme. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you want to take things to the extreme,
right?
Or that you want to fight, because isn't
or
there
that you hate the moderate version of that thing.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't say anything about any. It could do if the developer wants it to, but they don't. They shouldn't be compelled to do it. You just make a cool story. It's like, what's that? Is it Red Tower or something that's about the Nazis winning the war and they own the world? What was it? Was that a show or something?
The Man in the High Castle or
something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, and Wolfenstein does that as well. The new Wolfenstein games.
That doesn't mean that the developers want that to be the case. It's like,
it's like what I was talking about, like making a character that's prejudiced. Let's say, like, let's say, there's a Nordic kind of character that hates anyone with darker skin than him.
Yeah,
like that doesn't mean that I feel that way. Like that means that guy's an asshole.
Yeah,
that character in the game is an asshole, and he makes and maybe he has a redemption arc or something, or his mind's changed, or maybe he's just a villain and you kill him and whatever. That does, like, just because there are elements of things in a video game that mirror real life prejudices or history or whatever, that doesn't mean you're advocating any of that stuff.
No,
like when you could just tell a story and just
the story, as a writer or a designer, I wouldn't go near that. I wouldn't go anywhere near that sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could probably do some interesting stuff with all those, areas that you're not allowed to go to. There's probably some really cool games that have never been made and films that have never been shot, because everyone's too frightened or everyone's so offended,
Yeah. Like everything has to be a one-to-one reflection of the creator's value system.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Well, some people want that. And sadly, those people seem to be in positions in the media. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know how that came about. But games are still cool. They're still fun. What are you playing at the moment?
EverQuest.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to try to work a little bit of segue magic on me.
I started and I forgot where I was going. I'm not as well trained in segues as you are. So I was going to talk about EverQuest and WoW Classic, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and to bring up a little bit of what we were talking about with Hearthstone, the idea that somebody can sell you some digital thing and you've paid for it and it's, technically you own it. A perpetual license to it or whatever. But then they can change the content of the thing that you bought.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to EverQuest, because I've been playing Project 1999, which is an emulated version of EverQuest the way that it used to be, like 2 expansions deep or something, before they started to really alter some fundamental things about the game.
Okay.
And that version of that game doesn't exist anymore outside of an effort like this.
Yeah.
So it's like there were plenty of people that subscribed to it for years and years and years that can never go back to that version of the game or that, So it's refreshing to see something like that. I mean, and we've got WoW Classic coming and like all this stuff. And like, I don't necessarily think that a lot of this is just nostalgia fueled like desire. There's some of that for sure, but I do think that there's a philosophy,
especially with MMOs,
that used to run through the design of a game, that you're seeing less of anymore. and people want that depth that you're just not getting anymore.
They're less RPG, aren't they? I think that's the thing. MMO RPGs are, I would say, 90% less RPG than they used to be.
World of Warcraft, they stripped a ton of that stuff out, and it when I say RPG, played a little bit of WoW too recently.
Yes, I have. Getting juiced up, ready for WoW Classic.
Yeah, and playing the new version is like they remove like I still lament over the talent trees being gone and skill levels in proficiencies. I can't remember what they were called. I think they were called skills. But like unarmed, pole arms. Like you, the more you use something, the better you get at it. Sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say though, the thing is, I just love the world, man. The graphics, just the way it looks, just the way it sounds, and I don't care how much they change it. It's always a pleasure to look at.
It is, and it feels. I think WoW on an immediate like, sort of feedback level, has never felt better.
It is a phenomenal game, right? With all its problems, and I still think I'm looking forward to Classic because I don't like how it plays that much now. I don't think there's much to it really. There's a lot to it, but none of it's really. There's no real risk or reward or anything. But it's such a beautiful game. Like it's impressive what they've made. It is. And I think it gets a lot of stick, but I think it's phenomenal. How it
even
looks,
now, even with the new expansion, like the game keeps getting better looking all the time, and on a immediate level, like swinging a sword and hitting a monster feels awesome.
Yeah, I think it's visually I would personally say if you was to line up 1,000 games, you could pick WoW out immediately from any screenshot. It's phenomenal, the art direction, just how it's just bang on. They really did impressive work there, and such
low impact too. Like it's not a resource hog. They managed to make a minimal, with minimal hardware overhead. Like,
and I find what I find fascinating is that everything has like artistic value though. Like from like a rope with a bottle hanging off it to like a rock texture, they're all part of the same aesthetic, Yeah,
it's consistent throughout.
With most AAA games, it's like it's a grass texture, it's a stone texture, It's like, but you look at a WoW texture, you could probably get someone who's played WoW right and like unmap a load of 3D shapes and just flatten out the textures for like 10 games, and they'd still be able to pick WoW out from like a fucking texture map.
I think so too,
because it's that impressive, I think, and that I'm in awe of that all the time. All the time when I'm running around, and every zone, it's just like there's so much what's the word, personality to everything, and I like that. And it's achieved without going over the top. I think. But there's me gushing over World of Warcraft.
I agree. I was, I was there from day one, and even pre.
Well, we tried to play together, didn't we, Tobor?
God damn it! Yes.
Me and Tobor tried to play together, Blizzard, if you're watching, and we can't because he's American.
We can't even be friends on BattleNet.
No. Gatekeeping.
I eventually figured it out that I had to download the UK client.
Yeah.
But that also means I have to pay a separate subscription.
Yeah.
And buy separate expansion packs and all this shit in order to play with my friend Windy here.
And we are friends. Good friends, in fact, Tobor.
Yeah. Best of friends.
Yeah. So how you finding old school EverQuest?
It's awesome. And it's something that I hadn't really ever played a whole lot of. So the nostalgia factor isn't there for me.
Yeah.
Like I remember trying to play it once upon a time when they had a free weekend or free week or free trial period or something. And this was years ago. And even then it was kind of like, I'll play Warcraft.
Yeah.
Or something. But now I'm playing and I'm like, there's all these like really interesting systems that there's, like hunger and thirst. And I got stuck swimming around in a pond and I couldn't get out because the game is janky. But I saw like a swimming skill level start to increase and I was like, oh, maybe I'll hang out here for a while and just swim around and level up swimming. Oh, so man. there's that progression aspect to it. And your character has charisma. Like he's got like certain people won't talk to you like based on your alignment, and it has alignment in there. It's like they wanted to make a Dungeons and Dragons style world. But just happened to have it be multiplayer as well.
Well, they pretty much laid the foundations for the whole industry, didn't they? I know there was MMOs before EverQuest.
Yeah, Ultima Online was the biggie.
Yeah,
and probably it had more. Ultima Online had more simulation aspects to it than EverQuest even. But
there was a couple of others. There was the Legend of Mir we discussed before. I played that.
Yep, Meridian 59 was one of them.
There was a couple knocking about, but I think EverQuest 1 sort of built the blueprints for what the industry is now. I think.
Yeah, that was like the first. Like it was like third person, 3D everything.
Yeah.
Quest systems and
Yeah.
party systems and the raids.
Yeah.
Like most of the terminology that we have, I think, comes from EverQuest. Camping and
trains.
Trains, yes. And I got my ass handed to me. Like I made it to level 4. Of course, I picked a barbarian warrior.
Classic.
Yeah, start out in the frozen north.
Yeah.
And just a weak, frail, miserable creature trying to make his way through a hostile alien world. It's great.
Oh man, that's such a great game though. Such a great game. I still think I played the free to play one a few years ago. It was pretty. It was still good. But
apparently they've just gutted a lot of these systems from what I've read.
Yeah.
Like Hunger and Thirst doesn't really matter anymore either, and
yeah. It's great. It's still going though. Still going. They just released another expansion not long ago for it.
They released one a year, I think.
Yeah, it's like 27 or something.
Crazy. I would genuinely like to try the live version too, just to see.
Should do. It's free to play. Download it.
Yeah, but the Project 99 one too, like it kind of speaks to me on a super nerdy freaking basement dwelling RPG loving idiot. Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. Oh, cool. I think that's everything, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I
think that's it, right? I think we're done here. Done. I've had enough.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. Anyway,
turn off the video.
I hope you've all enjoyed the Flamecast this week, ladies and gentlemen. I've been Windybeard. My good friend there, Tobor. Give him a wave, Tobor. Give everybody a wave. We say thank you very much for watching, and we will see you soon. And also check out all the links down below for mine and Tobor's social medias and shit like that. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Buy our exciting games on G2A.
Yeah. And then pirate them afterwards. Bye.
Yeah.